Hi, this is Bart with BuildLog.net. Today I'm going to talk about how to use an HC-05 Bluetooth module with an Arduino. I have it hooked up to the Arduino on a breadboard. The looks a little busy, but here is the schematic for it. You have to supply 5 volts and ground to the HC-05. Then I have a software serial set up on the Arduino with 12 being transmit and 11 being receive. So the transmit goes into the receive, and the transmit from the Arduino goes through a level shifter resistor divider to take the 5-volt Arduino voltage down to 3.3, and then that goes into the receive pin on the HC-05. The HC-05 is a 3.3 volt device, so any signal going to it should be level shifted down to 3.3. A lot of people don't do this, and it appears to work fine for them, but you might end up breaking your module in the long term. The transmit of 3.3 into the Arduino is probably okay. It works great for me. It's within the threshold of the Arduino receiving it. The other thing I have hooked up is the state through a capacitor to the reset pin. I hooked this up, and it's optional because I want to be able to upload firmware via Bluetooth after this thing's all together. The way you upload to an Arduino is via bootloader, which means the Arduino must be reset just before you send the code. That's how the USB does it. So for the Bluetooth to do it, it has to hook up to the reset pin. The state pin has a high or low voltage based on whether the Bluetooth is connected. I have it set up so that when it's connected, state goes low, and it goes low through the capacitor to the reset pin. If it were hooked directly to the reset pin, take the reset pin low, and Arduino would be stuck in reset mode. The capacitor just simply trims it down to a single pulse, and it goes to the reset pin, and it pulses it, Arduino resets, and then it's quickly ready to listen for the firmware coming in. My setup is just a little more complicated because I've added a power switch so I can turn on and off the HC-05 pretty easily, and I used a real digital level shifter only for the reason that I didn't have the resistors available. So if I go and turn on the HC-05, you'll see that it's blinking rapidly. That means it's in ready to pair mode. And if I look at my Bluetooth devices, this will take a second. You'll see that there's HC-06. I'm not sure why it says 06. I should say 05, but that's the way it's coming up right now. I'm not going to pair with it right now because I want to change the name. I'm going to do that by using a Arduino sketch. So you recall I had the Bluetooth hooked up via software serial on pins 11 and 12. I also have a hardware serial to the PC, so I can talk from the PC to the Arduino, and then from the Arduino to the HC-05. It's going to print a little menu of commands just as a reference, and then the actual meat of the program in the loop is very simple. Any data coming from the HC-05 gets sent to the PC. Anything from the PC gets sent back to the HC-05. In order to get into this command mode on the HC-05, you have to power it up with the reset or the button pressed. So I'm going to turn it off, hold the button, and power it on. You see now the light is blinking a lot slower. That means it's in AT command mode. So if I open up the serial monitor, if I type in AT, it's responding with an OK. That means I'm now connected in AT command mode to the HC-05. Some of the other commands are listed right here. There's a lot more. One of the things the HC-05 can do is be a Bluetooth master. I'm not going to cover that today, but there's a lot of commands with that. With a slave, there's a lot less you have to do. So some of the ones I can look at are AT plus version, and that is a read-only command that gives the version of the firmware. I can set the role. That would be master slave. I want to set it to slave, so AT plus role equals 0. With any command that has a parameter, you can also request the current status like this. Put a question mark instead of the equals, and it will tell you here that the role is 0. So I can also set the name. That's the name that shows up in the when you go to pair. So AT plus name equals, I'm going to set it to mid tbot 4. And then I'm going to set the password AT plus PSWT equals 4444. Next is the UART, and this is the connection speed that will be used when the UART is used as a serial port. I'm going to set it up It has 2 extra parameters, and that's for stop bits and parity. I want a single stop bit, so I use 0, and I want none parity, so I use a 0. I said baud by mistake. It's UART. Okay. The next thing is polar, and it's a weird name, but what it's doing is it's setting the direction of the pins that give status in the LED. I don't really need to change anything on the LED, but the status, I want it to be low on turn on. That means it will take the status pin low, which will go through the capacitor and reset it. So I will do AT plus polar equals 1, 0, leaving LED, its default is 1, and changing status to 0. That's it. AT plus ORGL, original, returns it to the default parameters, and AT plus reset resets the HC-05. And you'll see when I do that, now it's blinking quickly. Now if I go to my settings, you'll see I have mid tbot 4. Okay, now I'm going to try and connect to that, to pair to it. I have to enter the password, and it's going to connect. Now if I look at my Bluetooth settings, under COM ports, I have mid tbot 4, I have 2 of them, incoming and outgoing. COM 12 is the outgoing, that's the one I want to use. You can see the HC-06 is in a slow blink mode now. That's probably due to me being paired to it. So I'm going to close out of here and out of here. So now I have some virtual COM ports I can use to talk to the to send over Bluetooth and then out the TX and RX on the device. So I am going to demonstrate that by removing the USB, moving the RX and TX to the hardware pins. These are the same pins that are used with the USB. And hook up my reset line here, and then I'm going to power up the Arduino using just the DC in. Turn that on. You'll see the HC-05 is coming up. Now I'm going to switch to a different sketch, and this is simply going to echo characters back that will go over Bluetooth through the HC-05, out the RX and TX to the Arduino, and the Arduino is going to echo them back. If I look in my ports, I now have 2 more ports than I had before. And the one I want, just to quickly verify, is the outgoing 12. So I will change this to COM12. And I should be able to upload the firmware. And there it goes. It's uploading. Oops, had an error. Try it again. For some reason it took a couple tries to get it right. I'm not sure what's going on. Sometimes it's a little bit to do with the timing of the reset. Now I can simply type in foo, and it's echoing foo back. It's putting some greater than signs in there just so that I can verify that it's really coming back. So that's basically it. Now I can use it for any type of serial programming. That timing issue might be the level of the cap that I'm using, something like that. But in general, you're not going to have that timing issue as tight when you're not trying to upload firmware. So thank you. Bye.